City Council, February 7th, 2022 meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on, or sorry, Jackie, we call the roll.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hewlin,
Here.
Parker,
Present.
Dalby,
Here.
Schroeder,
Present.
Beach.
Here.
Richardson,
Present.
Mayor Erickson.
Here. Moving on to the public comment section of the agenda. If there is anyone in the audience who wishes to speak about something that is not on the agenda, you can come forward now. If it is regarding something on the agenda, when we get to that section, you can speak. Please state your name and address when you get to the podium.
Hello, my name is Sue Wilson, 114 West Hillview Drive. Thank you, Mayor Erickson and the City Council for letting me come today. I just wanted to share a really kind of cool teamwork incident that happened on Friday. Friday about noon, I received a phone call that there was an apartment complex within Indianola that was on their second day of no heat. There was 10 units in it. There was an infant in it. There was children. And they were reaching out to Helping Hand because they had heard just that they were asking actually for blankets. And I had asked, well, are you staying warm in the blankets? And if Friday morning, it was, I think, -12 when we woke up. And so I remembered I attended something in October that Charlie and his crew had put on about tenant rights and landlord stuff. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give Charlie a call and see what they can do, if anything. So I called Charlie and he didn't pick up. So I kind of texted him, and we've been on some committees together. So I was like, I'll just text him. And I just said, Charlie, urgent, apartment complex, 10 units, no heat, running lots of heat space heaters. He called me back within a minute. And within 10 minutes, we had Chief Chia and Tim Little and Mike Pfizer all on scene. And I just think that's amazing. Like, we have a community that is in a lot of need, and we get a lot of things. We see a lot of things at the Helping Hand, but I was just floored that within 10 minutes, we were able to walk into a situation and calmly and just deal with it. So heat was resolved. The long-term problem was resolved. We got it fixed. They gave the landlord 60 minutes to really get somebody out there and get it solved. So nobody had evacuated. All the families could stay where they needed to be, which stability is really big in situations like this. So when the residents reached out to me afterwards, they just said, we had no idea that you can call the city for these things. And so I just wanted to say those 4 men did an amazing job, and I was just way proud to be a part of the city of Indianola. So thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, staff.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I see Chief Chia is here, and Charlie, thank you. I don't see Tim or Mike, but thank you for doing that. That's great. That is definitely what community is about. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? All right, Jackie, anybody on the phone? I don't know if people would call in anymore, but that is that option. If people, you have a public comment, you can call in as well too. So we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that needs to be pulled there?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to pull a consent agenda item 5A.
Okay. Charlie, you want to give us a little update on that?
We need probably motion first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion to approve. To pulling that.
To pull that.
Yeah, to pull that.
I'll explain it.
Oh, okay. Second. I didn't know we had to
Thank
make
you.
a motion to pull. Okay.
Really quick before it. The only reason I'm asking for this to be pulled is just we've got an item on the agenda under business to go into exempt session. Just a point of order, we actually need to adjourn the regular council meeting first and then go into the exempt session. So it'll just be essentially moving 9B as probably item 11, I would say, under adjournment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We actually don't need to vote on pulling it, but we do need to vote on changing it.
Okay, makes sense. Gotcha.
Okay.
It's all right. Not really a pull, it's a change.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what's confusing.
Would we vote on that now or after?
Let's vote on the consent agenda and then, well, we can.
No, you have to, wouldn't you have to do the agenda first and then?
Yeah, you can pull it off the consent agenda, but let's just go ahead and change the agenda. I have a motion to make that change.
What are the motions? What are they?
Okay, all right, yep, I'll second that. Yep.
So we need to vote on that.
Councilmember Hewland,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Moving on, there's a couple items on the consent agenda. I think Charlie is just gonna give us a little update on a few of them. We'll go down to,
Move to approve the consent agenda.
thanks,
There
John.
you go. There you go. Now you.
Ooh,
Second.
all these changes.
That's all
today.
right.
Thank you. That's why we're thankful you're here. You know that
You got a second,
process. All right, so now we can, John, I think I might just move you next to me.
No, that's all right. You're fine. You're fine. You'll get it.
So Charlie, do you want to start at F, second consideration of an ordinance amending the city code of City of Indianola regarding the requirement of sanitary.
You just want an explanation on what
Yep,
those
just
are?
a
Yep.
quick- just a
Yeah,
quick run through
so,
them.
you know, second and third considerations in the past, we'd always had those on consent agenda. I know the council had asked to move those onto regular agenda while the new members of the council kind of got up to speed. We've now put those back on the consent agenda. And like anything, I think, you know, we've got the forms available up front here. If anybody ever did want to speak on them, fill out those forms, obviously, then Mayor, you could ask for that to be pulled off if anybody did want to speak on it. But I know at the last meeting, we didn't have anybody to speak on them, so. That's what I'm, so.
So talk about the claims for a second, or do you want to pull that off, or what do you want to do? We got a motion here, so since we're kind of doing this in this process, can I ask a
Yeah.
question about the claims now?
Mhm.
I just have one question, I think. And it's really kind of just probably a question I probably should ask you, Charlie. I just ran across it a while ago, though. I noticed we get some things from Iowa Prison Industries. We got some parking signs. I know they have a whole myriad of things that they can sell and use. Do we ever use them above and beyond parking signs?
We have in the past, I know that. I know we've got some office equipment and community development that came through Prison Industries, but without going to each one of our department heads specifically to see if they've used it for anything else, I'm not aware of it. And just so the council's aware, with Prison Industries, after the event that happened at the Anamosa prison, gosh, what was that, a year ago or so now, we've seen some pretty significant delays coming from them on a lot of signage. and stuff too, so.
And I did notice one other thing I just want to mention here, that again, we've got some various things that different departments use, different companies, and that's fine. Kind of goes back to our discussion at the meeting, the retreat a little bit. You know, let's kind of keep a track of those kinds of things so that we, if we can, maybe send out an RFP for services and some of those services down the road that might save us some money. My comment.
Well, moving down to J, resolution improving wastewater and drinking water financial assistance program grant contract. Is Rick on the phone? Just you wanna? Oh, yeah, hiding behind Jackie's chair. You wanna kind of talk about that? That's good.
Andy's got
Yeah,
this
I
one,
could,
yeah.
I could
Some good
speak on
news.
that. That was a grant that we received for $500,000. We currently, once we, the council approves this grant agreement, we'll be able to, on our next reimbursement from IFA, ask for that against this grant. I would advise the council, we have two funding streams currently for the wastewater, for the water resource recovery facility. One is local option sales tax. The other one is our SRF loan that we're currently drawing down on. I would continue using the SRF loan to spread out the cost. And then we, because of this grant, towards the end, we'll know if we'll have that 500,000 or not from a local option sales tax that we would have spent on the facility, but we might have that extra. And that just gives the city a little more flexibility in use of those funds.
Great.
Thanks, Charlie.
Any other questions,
Andy.
comments? Jackie?
Councilmember Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewland,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Moving on to council reports, committee member updates. Steve,
Yep, CERTA, we met January 20th, and I actually went to the meeting in person. There were a number of people on Zoom as well. I asked that the item be put in your packet so you can kind of see a little bit about the tables of where we are. We get about $285,000 a year from CERTA. That builds, and you have to build it up to a certain amount before you can use it. In the beginning balance of 2010-1 and 21, we had a balance of $1,909,000, and we are going to use that money for the Hillcrest project, if I'm not mistaken. Charlie, is that right?
Mhm.
Yes. And so what that does is then you go against what you're looking for. If you look at that chart or charts that are on in your packet, you'll notice that beginning balance 10-1 of 22, we were in the negative at 900,789. You're not really in the negative. What that means is that every year we're going to get that about $285,000. And if you keep looking at that chart, you'll notice that somewhere out about 24, we get that paid down. We're not going to be able to borrow against that then for another couple of years after we actually pay that off, because they require you to build that up to a certain point. I'm not sure exactly how long we'll have to go, or it depends on the size of our project and what we look at. But for additional funding from CERTA, we're probably going to look at 27, 28 budget year before we can use some of that other money. So just want everybody to be aware of that, what we've done and where we are. There's no problem with it. It's a great program. Just want everybody to be aware.
Greater Des Moines Convention.
Yep, we had a meeting on January 28th. Unfortunately, I had to do it over Zoom rather than I had got called away from work, so I had to listen to it. It wasn't the greatest, but anyway, we did. So we have a sports. There were years and years ago, there was a sports commission that Greater Des Moines Partnership or not partnership, but the Catch Des Moines CVB oversaw. That had just basically sat there, nothing was used. Well, the auditors a year ago recommended that we bring it back on. We had to make some changes and rename it, because then technically things like the Ironman and some of these events that we've got coming in, they're more geared towards that. So anyway, we had to approve some new bylaws and articles of incorporation for the 501c3 that is now named the Des Moines Area Sports and Tourism Commission. As far as budget wise, our revenue right now with the hotel motel tax for the first 2 quarters of the year, April through September, is actually above what we had budgeted, enough so that if quarters 3 and 4 track down, then we've got enough to cover that for the year. So budget wise, things are looking good, because that generally means that people are starting to stay in hotels, which we also did see a report from the hotel industry stating that in the Des Moines area, they're looking at occupant rates and revenues that will approach 2019 levels. So, and in 2019, we were really rolling. In fact, they showed pre-pandemic, things were going crazy, and all of a sudden you could tell when it hit. It just dropped straight off. So things are, even with business travel not coming back yet, and they're staying another year probably for that even that we're getting a lot of traffic in the Des Moines metro area. So otherwise, they're starting new marketing efforts with signed on for another year with the Chicago Cubs. They saw a lot of traffic from Chicago area, people coming, and instead of traveling ways away, they just traveled to Des Moines to see what was going on. So felt like it was a pretty popular thing last year. So otherwise, that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Item B is presentation by Bradley Easter of the Indianola Chamber of Commerce regarding the request for funding in fiscal year 2030. Thank you, Brenda, for coming. I know it's short notice.
Got it. Well, thank you. We appreciate the invitation to present more information about the Chamber City funding request tonight. It's a little larger than normal request, but the project that we're presenting tonight will have a direct impact on our Indianola tourism and provide an opportunity for an immediate return on our investment by increasing tax revenues for the city and our community. According to the Economic Impact of Travel on Iowa County's report, prepared by the U.S. Travel Association for the Iowa Economic Development Authority and Iowa Tourism Office in 2019, and John's right, 2019 data was where we were really peaking and things were rolling. Iowa tourism domestic travel generated $9.3 billion for the state of Iowa and $43.2 million for Warren County, resulting in $350,000 in tax revenues. Transportation, food, entertainment, retail, lodging represent the top travel expenditures. However, many of our businesses will benefit from visitors to our community. I think it was probably best said by the Iowa Economic Development Authority, Debbie Durham, when she said, economic development efforts must include place-based economic development, which is also known as destination marketing and tourism. One facet of the Chamber's economic development strategies includes bringing new tax dollars to Indianola through the development of a dedicated online tourism site focused on documenting Indianola, our businesses, attractions, events, hotels, restaurants, and utilizing destination marketing strategies to invite visitors to Indianola. We know that individuals search and make travel plans before they even leave their homes. And we have to meet them where they're at, and that's online. This project aligns with the city's comprehensive plan recognizing tourism as an economic driver for Indianola. Now, we intend to develop and utilize a team of talented Simpson College students for site development services. That includes curation of content, photography, videos, and graphic design, as well as some other local paid talent. We also intend to gather Indianola stakeholder input as we develop and maintain the site, as we continue to make sure that Indianola is telling their best story. Now, the Indianola Chamber will also be contributing to this project, and we will also be exploring additional technologies and applications to make the site more dynamic, which is what people are looking for. We also plan to apply for an Iowa tourism grant during the next grant cycle, which is coming up in the summer. I want to introduce Pratish Patel, owner of the Hotel Pommier and a chamber board member. Pratish has a wealth of knowledge, background, and passion for tourism. He's going to share a little bit more about the vision for our project.
Thank you, Brenda. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. My name is Prakash. I'm the owner of Hotel Pommier here in town. Just want to add a little bit more color to what Brenda opened up with. Tourism is my passion, obviously, as a hotelier. Selfishly, it's what I do every day. It's what I live, breathe 24/7. So we think that our community has a lot of untapped potential. I just think in general, as residents, we take everything in Indianola for granted, right? We take the Balloon Classic, the Opera, Simpson College, everything that brings people to Indianola. We just assume that people know about these things, and the reality is they don't. So we started to list out like every single event, every restaurant, every attraction, every museum we had in Indianola, and obviously it doesn't fit on one slide. So we just summarized it in some of these buckets. But all in all, there's just a lot of stuff that Indianola has to offer, and we think that's just a lot of untapped potential. So to keep it simple, tourism is the key that unlocks that potential. There's a ton of studies you could read, just Google ROI for tourism. The ranges vary, but a conservative estimate is, every dollar you put into tourism generates $3 of tax revenue. So that's not sales, that's not just economic activity, that's like pure tax revenue. So the ROI is very obvious. And not only for direct tax revenue, but tourism is about placemaking. So when people are looking to move to Indianola, when businesses are looking to invest in Indianola, having a strong tourism presence, something that really tells Indianola's story, has all these tangential benefits, along with just direct tax revenue. So we think that's really important. Other communities have taken notice and they've taken steps to invest in tourism. Communities as small as Sheraton with around 4,000 people, all the way to like Pella and Boone, more comparable towns such as ours. I encourage everyone to go check out the websites and platforms that they've stood up. They really want to make you go explore Iowa, right? There's just a lot of awesome stuff we have within a stone's throw of us. And it's unfortunate that, we have an X because we don't have anything similar currently. So I think that leaves us with an abundance of opportunity. So thankfully, as Brenda mentioned, the city has highlighted tourism as a priority. It's in the comprehensive plan. There are strategies in place to help move in that direction. But to date, we've just been relying on kind of regional and statewide entities to put Indianola on the map. As a quick example, Catch Des Moines, it's an awesome organization. They have these really great itineraries on their website. I again encourage everybody to go check them out. We reviewed every single one and we highlighted the ones in yellow that give Indianola mention. I think everybody agrees here that we have awesome places to eat. We have awesome things to do in the fall. We have awesome places for a girls' night out, that sort of thing. And we really want to put Indianola on the map, and we think there's an opportunity to do that. So, drum roll, we want to stand up what we're currently calling Explore Indianola, which is this online tourism hub, which is really a foundational asset for Indianola to start doing destination marketing, to start telling our story. And no one's going to tell that story better than Indianola. I think even if you wanted to put a billboard up on the side of a highway, or you wanted to run some sort of marketing promotion to get people to look at Indianola, you need something there to direct them to, right? This isn't about printing brochures and mailing packets, which we do that as well, but it's really about having this foundational platform that puts Indianola on the map as an exciting and fun place to be. So this is just a mock-up of what we thought it could look like, but the idea is to have a really simple, easy to navigate, accessible, rich website with lots of photos, lots of content, and really just a place for people to see what's going on in Indianola and basically be the door that works 24/7 on our behalf to get people excited about coming to visit here. We've also started to think through some of the site navigation, really with every single part of the site having an action in mind. So talking about events coming up this week, things to do, who to get in touch with, and really the focus being on visitors, but that target audience could definitely expand to families relocating, businesses looking to invest in here, event planners, and a lot of other types of stakeholders. But the primary focus would be on visitors for now. Obviously, it takes a little bit of resources to get something like this up and running. It's really not just the website. We want to think about it more as a platform. So the costs are really front loaded to get everything up and running. And then there's kind of a lower burn as you get the platform. It's really just about maintenance. But as Brenda mentioned, it does take a cross-functional team. It's not just about somebody developing code and throwing up pages on a website. You need rich content, you need good marketing copy, you need kind of that fresh thinking to get the promotions and the site launch out there. And then think about it almost like planting a seed. You can't just plant a seed and expect something to grow. You need constant maintenance and nourishment to make sure that this platform becomes a dynamic place that people will continually visit. Thanks. That's what I wanted to share. So I appreciate everyone's time. I'll pass it back to Brenda.
Happy to answer any questions that you might have. Excuse me. Put this back on for no coffee in the face.
Brenda, when do you guys anticipate like a rollout if you were to do this?
That's a good question. It depends on getting the team curated. And, we've talked to Simpson College and they're very excited about the partnership. We have some really talented people right here in Indianola, and being able to crosswalk those talents with a huge Indianola project is huge. So just getting that talent curated is probably the first step. And then putting together the timeline. Essentially, once we get the team in place, we should be able to roll it out probably in, 3 to 9 months. Mm-hmm. It's going to take a little while.
Well, this
Yeah.
is a big task to take on.
Yeah.
Would it include everything in the community, whether they're chamber members or not?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, I'm sorry, someone else, who would update the website? So I love the calendar idea.
Yeah.
Who would do
So,
that?
so the chamber would be behind the scenes supporting the entire project. And we would have our team to keep the updates rolling. And then, of course, input from stakeholders, people in the community who would make recommendations for content, for upgrades, for, just, telling our story better.
Would there be any cost to the businesses that contact you to be put on your website?
No.
Brenda, once it's up and running, you mentioned a little bit about updating it every so often, but I was involved with the last company I worked for, involved in their marketing with online sales and other kinds of things along that line too. And you almost have to have, and maybe you do have this in plan, but I haven't really kind of heard that yet explicitly. As far as weekly updates, blogs, posts that have links to other things like, other kinds of websites, especially business websites like LinkedIn or other kinds of platforms. What's the plan for that?
Absolutely. So marketing is going to be critical anytime you launch a site, and especially when you're launching it brand new and trying to attract people. And so content marketing is huge. And part of those strategies is blogging. In fact, 98% people, when you write a good blog, I shouldn't say that, 75% of people, when you write a good blog, are paying attention to your site. We can also have strategies where we can have people sign up for our newsletters and blogs, which then helps us curate a marketing list. And the data that I just received today, 99% of people who are receiving emails with a subject line that's interesting are actually reading them, which is a lot larger than the past data that I've gotten. So there are strategies in place where we can start building those lists and continue over time to create those loyal visitors.
As we were creating a new website and a few other things that we were looking at, we actually had a couple of national firms come here and talk to us about that process. And as everybody knows, you got about 3 seconds to 5 seconds to get somebody's attention on your website. And so it has to be constantly updated. It has to be easy to navigate. And you probably know all this. I guess I'm saying this more for our benefit here too. But you've got about 2 clicks is about all you get before you get the content. So it's got to be very easy to use. So my question really comes down to this. Are there going to be some beta sites that maybe are going to be able to test and look at, and not only your chamber members, but maybe the council or some other stakeholders might be able to look at some of those beta sites so that we can see how easy they are to navigate and maybe make some suggestions.
Sure. I wouldn't think that would be a problem at all. We'd have to get our team in place because obviously those are the people they're going to, we'll be relying on to pull those sites for us. But they exist, and I know Paula has done just an amazing job with her placemaking, not just online, but physically within their town. And they would be a site that I would really encourage everyone to look at because they've spent a great deal of time and invested in those resources to make themselves look good.
So maybe I apologize. Maybe I missed it. When did you say you would have your team in place?
Well, we are working with Simpson right now.
Sorry, what?
The Simpson College, we have Paula Keeter is at one of the, she works at Simpson College and she sits on our board. She works with entrepreneurs there. And she's working with a team of professors to help us get the right team pulled together. So we've started that work. We're just waiting to kind of get together on that.
Okay.
But soon.
I have a question on an unrelated item, if I may ask about.
You certainly may.
Can I ask that question? One of the, I haven't been receiving chamber information. I'm just wondering, I know that new council members have, I don't know if they have or not. When does our membership kick in? Does it kick in at the beginning of the fiscal year, or does it kick in at the beginning of a calendar year? Or when
Yeah, we're on a calendar year basis. So we have not we don't automatically add council to our distributions, but if you give us permission, we absolutely would love to have you on our distribution. So if you're giving me green light, we can absolutely take care of that tomorrow.
Well, for that concern, I would.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
You
have
can
one
always
question.
ask to be.
We can unsubscribe.
Right.
No, I think that's great, yeah.
That's the beauty of subscribing. You can always unsubscribe. So, yes.
I have one question, Brenda. So is it just Simpson that you're using for the web developers, or do you have an outside company you're using?
So we also have some, I'm going to say talent right here in Indianola that are local businesses that we can also tap, but we're waiting to see kind of exactly what we can curate through Simpson first. Their monthly rates would be, or their hourly rates would be a little bit less than if we curated a rate from a regular business. So, so the answer is yes, and potentially yes.
I have a question for you. Do you know what the annual expense for maintaining and running it is going to be approximately?
You know, that's a good question. We've been trying to come up with a number on that. The chamber is paying for the actual license for the site. So I don't know, probably $100 for that. And then maintenance would just be time that we work with the talent to keep it updated and running. And then additional costs could include, there are some really wonderful technologies out there that we really need to take a strong look at that could help make it more interesting to come to Indianola.
So after the initial setup and everything is done, I'm assuming, would it be you then that kind of manages the site yourself?
Yeah, I would manage it myself, but I would manage to make sure that our team is constantly making the updates that are recommended by the stakeholder group. Yeah. You kind of need somebody to make sure it gets done.
Right.
Yeah,
Brenda, sorry, it's Gwen on Zoom. Can you hear me all right?
I can. I just can't see you.
Okay. So back to your Simpson, curating the opportunities at Simpson. Is that the program? And I can't recall the name, but you said she works with entrepreneurs. So is it the students then that would be part of the team to develop this website?
So we're working on having, yes, students, but then we're also working on having one or two of the professors that work with those entrepreneurs that also would sit on the team as well. Okay.
I absolutely love Simpson, and you know I support it in every way, but I think that will slow you down, and that maybe you could consider the cost savings versus the time lost, and maybe you should take a good look at that. I'm just not sure. I've had experience with that before, and that group, and they're great, and they're young students, and I love to give them the opportunity, but maybe we could find another way to involve them. Just a thought.
Thank you. Wherever you are.
Thanks, Brenda. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a question, Brenda. Iowa Tourism, how much do we participate on? I'm assuming they have a website, and do we link to that now? And what do we,
So the Iowa
how do we partner with them already?
Yeah, the Iowa Tourism group, we actually have access to, so we can upload our events and activities that, meet their criteria. And if we give them some content, it goes through a board. And so just not every bit of content that's submitted gets edited and are published. But so that's kind of the path we have to take right now for the Iowa Tourism site. Okay. Yeah. It's a good site. We utilize them as much as we possibly can, which you want to.
Right.
And we would continue to do that. Thank you.
Brenda, is there a possibility that maybe you could put a timeline together? I know the timelines change and things happen, but should we maybe get a timeline from you as to, this is, we want to go at this time, and we want to hit this target, we want to hit that target.
Yeah. That would be essentially our first step, depending upon the talent that we use. I'm gonna take this with me, so I'm gonna move it over here. You might need it the rest of the night. The answer is absolutely, that would be our next step, and we're moving it forward, just getting the team together. And perhaps we had actually talked sort of similarly to Gwen's thoughts that we might actually use some of the paid talent around here to also advance the project for certain elements of it. I think it would be a wise decision. But we'll do our best. It'll be all local talent.
Great. Any other questions?
Okay, well, you know where I'm at. If you have any other
Thank you.
questions, let me know.
And Brenda,
Thank
would
you.
you email me that presentation and
Absolutely.
I'll forward it on to everybody?
Yeah,
Look
absolutely.
a little bit closer at it.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, moving on to C is presentation by Rachel. Rachel, I apologize. Thanks. That's what I was thinking.
Everybody
I didn't
says
know.
Gilligan. It's okay. You can call me
Warren
whatever you
County
want.
Economic Development Corporation regarding their request for funding in fiscal year 23.
Okay. Okay. Okay, you guys have a full agenda, so I'm gonna try to plow through this as fast as I possibly can. But since we have new faces on the council, I thought it wasn't a bad idea to just kind of give a quick overview of who Warren County Economic Development is. Rachel Gokin, Executive Director of the Warren County Economic Development, and with me, I have Doug Scholl, our Board President. So really quickly, just about our organization, we're a public-private partnership. We were founded in 1992, so we're celebrating our 30th anniversary this year, which is kind of exciting. Thanks to having to put this presentation together is when I realized it's 30 years this year. So we'll have to do something special about that. We have a 20-member board. It's made up of key economic development stakeholders. These are investors, including both public and private. And we have two very famous people in the room who serve on our board, Charlie DeSell and Heather Heelan. Our mission is we exist to create and retain jobs while enhancing the quality of life in Warren County, and that is accomplished foremost by strengthening and supporting the business climate. I always say, in a nutshell, what we do is attract new business and assist existing business so that they can grow and thrive. So that's connecting them to resources, grant opportunities, creating programs where there could be a need to make sure that our businesses are successful and they're thriving. So to do what we do on a daily basis, we kind of put it into 4 buckets. We have business retention and expansion, product development and target marketing, public relations and advocacy, and workforce development and quality of life. So just to quickly go through what kind of makes up each of those buckets, we are definitely not limited to these things, but trying to give you the highlights here. So first off, under business retention and expansion, this also includes entrepreneurial development. We run a small business grant contest every year where we have slated $10,000 to give away to local businesses. This last year, we had $6,000 for an existing business, $4,000 for a startup. This is something that we would really like to continue, and we are exploring ways to increase the funding capacity for that, because we have found that a $4,000 to $6,000 investment in a small business makes a huge difference. Take West Hill Brewing, for example, they were able to buy a new still. That's something that's going to allow them to exponentially increase their capacity, increase their sales, and increase revenue for their business. Annually, when COVID is not ruining all of our fun, we have an annual business awards event, and that is where we're celebrating and highlighting the economic impact that our businesses are having on the county. So that's something to look forward to in the fall. And then just in general, like I mentioned before, we're always looking for resources, different things that we can do for our local businesses. We partner with the Small Business Development Center. They come down on the second Thursday and we'll offer free one-on-one business consultations. We also do something, we call it an executive call program, but in-house, the program is called Synchronous, but it allows us, we have basically an interview form where we can go in and meet with executives of companies and get their take on how things are going in their company, what challenges they see coming down for them. And then we can compile all of that information. And the good thing is we can see what's going well for our businesses and then identify any issues. So if there's a trend in our business community that they're all facing the same issue, we can look at that and say, all right, how do we fix this? Because it's affecting everyone. We also have, through the Home Base Iowa designation in Warren County Economic Development, set up a veteran-owned business grant program. This is something that we offer a $1,000 grant to any veteran who opens or expands a business in Warren County. To date, we've given 8,000, and 3,000 of those $3,000 in grants have gone to veteran-owned businesses within the city limits of Indianola. And then this one was kind of fun, and I think it'll kind of coincide with the downtown improvement fund once we get that sorted out and going. But we partnered with McCoy True Value to offer a commercial paint grant. So this allows businesses to get up to 5 gallons of free paint, and that can be used for interior or exterior renovations or improvements on their properties. So that's to try to encourage beautification and just overall appearance of our businesses. Okay, so on to product development and target marketing. One of our key things when we are dealing with businesses coming to Indianola, usually the first question is, what kind of incentives are available to me? What grants are available? What funding is going to help me get my business off the ground? One of the biggest things that we have in our toolkit is a revolving loan fund. This is something that we had applied for a grant through USDA. We ended up actually getting 2 different grants in different years, but we have a total of 216,000 in that fund. 166,000 of that is eligible for any project in Warren County. 50,000 of that is specifically for Indianola projects. One thing I wanted to mention there with this USDA leveraging, we as an organization have put up 64,000, and it translated into gaining 101,000 from USDA. So we feel like that was a pretty good investment. So total, we have 216,000 to work with 50,000 specifically for Indianola. We also have something that we call an opportunity fund. This is kind of our special fund, as we have very high impact projects that come through. And this is just something that it's as funds allow and what's going to tip the scale to make that project happen. Site certification. So we had such a success with the other certified site in the county that this is something that's been on our radar to have more of. I'm happy to say that we are working on a certified site here in the industrial park. It's a 57.11 acre site just next to Cementech. And we submitted the first round of a 3-step program, and we just got word that we've been invited to step 2. So we are on track to have the second certified site in the county, which I think is awesome. Yeah. In addition to that, because it is so important to us as an organization, we have set aside $5,000 grants to help with the site certification process. So.
Rachel, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So is that site certification basically shovel ready? Is that what you're talking about? Is that pretty much something?
Yeah, the idea there is that we want to eliminate any possible infringement on development being able to happen. So when a project comes along, all of the due diligence has been done. They've checked for endangered species. They know that an Indiana bat's not going to slow down the process for 12 months or 3 years.
Yeah, that's different name, same thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so as part of our recruitment efforts, one thing we have to do is keep an inventory of our available commercial properties. So something that we do on our website, that's commercial buildings and land that are available for sale or lease. So anytime you're curious, take a look. And if you know of a property that's opening up, definitely let us know, because the more we have on there, the more we have at our disposal when somebody comes to us and says, hey, where can my business locate?
And that's been an issue, you know, correct?
Yes.
Willingness, property owners willing to deal and sell, you know, that's been a kind of held up development, and you know, as the property owners aren't willing to sell, we're starting to see that turnover now. So hopefully we'll start to see more development because of that. So
And I think with a site certification, that's really going to draw a little more attention. And I should mention the other thing that comes along with site certification, that's a program through the State Economic Development Office. And part of the reason why it's so important is they have a much bigger marketing budget than we do. So they are out marketing certified sites around the state, of which I think there's about 30 right now. And when they go out and market, they really are pushing hard on their site, the certified sites. So this puts us in the running with their marketing dollars. And then recruitment efforts, just as they come in and what we can generate, we respond to business leads and we send proposals to targeted prospects. And that's also, I mean, part of our property inventory. That's what helps us be able to respond faster. What we see when we get leads from the State Economic Development Office or the Greater Des Moines Partnership, sometimes we have a very short turnaround time. So the more information that we have collected on the available properties and sites makes it easier for us to turn around and say, here's your options, come to Indianola. And under public relations and advocacy, our legislative activity includes things like participating in the annual DC trip. And part of that, we usually have individuals from the different communities going. You guys might want to think about who you're sending if you haven't already. But DC trip is slated for the 11th through 13th in May. And then what we usually do is coordinate a Warren County delegation messaging. So we'll get a small group, anybody who's coming from Warren County. We'll set up individual meetings with our federal legislators and pick their brains and ask for all the money that we want for a variety of things. So keep that in mind as a council and a staff if you guys want to send anybody, and then we'll have to work on what our legislative priorities are on a county level.
Have we sent anybody in the last?
Not for previous mayor did not like to do that, and so we did not. But first 2 years I was on council, we did. And I mean, I felt like it was positive. You know, it was.
We always had somebody go every year. I was on the council.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Ryan went on it.
Yeah,
When was
he
the
went
last
1 year,
trip?
so I think that was last year's. He went by. Yeah.
I feel like it hasn't happened since like 2019.
Yeah, they
So-
canceled last year. I think they rescheduled it and then canceled it again.
Yeah.
Like I said, COVID ruining all
It
of
was
it.
supposed to be in September and then it got pushed to May.
Yeah, I felt like it was a good trip just from the standpoint of being in the congressman's office. At the time it was the congressman's office, and being able to meet with, we met with him and then staff, and then the senator. You generally don't get to see the senator, but you do usually get to meet with the chief of staff. So essentially the same
The
thing.
years I've not to take away from Scott talking, the years I went, they always had a luncheon or a breakfast, one of the two, and then those members of Congress that represent us would be there. But I think also, John, you probably found this out too. One of the more important things too was getting together with other city council members and folks from around the area to pick brains and figure out the best way to solve issues. That was always a good thing.
Mhm.
So I would highly recommend we send at least one of them.
Yeah, I agree.
So keep me posted on that and we can have some more conversations in preparation. And then I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. The things that we engage in on a staff level. I know this is tiny font, but I have here Central Iowa Housing Trust Fund, which is a fairly new, I'm sure you probably are familiar with it, but this is something that didn't cost us anything to create and be a part of, except for a little bit of time. Huge shout out to the Des Moines area MPO for helping us get this set up. But what this is, it's a 4-county area in the state of Iowa did not have a housing trust fund, and we were missing money. So anytime Iowa Finance Authority was allocating funds, because we did not have this mechanism set up, we were just missing out on money, leaving money on the table. So we now have this set up, and in the first 2 years of it being functional, $219,000 was awarded to the Hill House here in Indianola. So I would say that's a great return on investment of just a little bit of time and effort. We now have access to those funds, and it's making a difference in our community. And then Warren County gift certificates. This is something just kind of a fun thing. In our effort to help try to keep dollars local, because we all know how important that is, We set up this gift certificate program. Any business in Warren County, regardless of membership or if you do business here, you can accept a Warren County gift certificate as payment for goods and services. I just wanted to mention that to date, we have sold 21,000 and change in gift certificates. So it's kind of fun to be able to say we've helped keep $21,000 within the walls of our county. And then on that as well, we are still offering a 20% discount for any Warren County Economic Development investors who have a need for purchasing gift certificates. I think I offer this every year, but if you ever have a need for certificates, keep that in mind that you can get them. We'll pay 20% of your gift certificate giving. Okay, workforce development and quality of life. We are on number 4. We are almost done. Warren County Leadership Institute, we are in our 27th annual leadership class. And one thing I wanted to mention here, this class in itself is just an awesome opportunity. And who in here has been through the Leadership Institute? Yay. Yes. So they learn a lot about Warren County, and obviously they have that leadership component as well. But one thing that they do is a class project every year. They work on, they select their project, and it's for the betterment of Warren County in some way. One thing I wanted to mention, we had a leadership class several years ago. They set up a Warren County Trail Endowment through the Philanthropic Partnership. And I just thought it was cool. And I looked up the number today. It's now at $16,690. So I thought that was pretty impressive. Home base Iowa, I think you guys are probably familiar with, but we helped get that designation and then worked with the communities in the county to come up with incentives for our veterans, the home buying incentives. Hometown Pride, I'm sure you're familiar with that as well, but key thing I wanted to point out there, in addition to all of the community betterment projects they've been doing around Indianola, they did achieve an Iowa Great Place designation, and that has allowed us to have access to up to $500,000 in grant funding. So it's something to look forward to. Fingers crossed. Hopefully we can. I think they're working on an application right now. So Warren County Tourism. We have a committee. One thing I wanted to mention about this. Well, let me say, the committee is made up of just individuals who are vested in tourism, like National Balloon Classic, Des Moines Metro Opera, Warren County Fair, all of those assets there. But one fun thing I wanted to mention, Brennan in our office, my little computer guy, he has been doing this project we're calling the Google Image Campaign, where I don't know if you've ever been on just Googling Google Maps and the random pictures that come up when you search for a place. We came across some pictures for businesses that individual users have just put in there. They're ridiculous. They look terrible. So Brennan went around and took pictures of businesses all around the county and has been uploading pictures. And to date, just the ones that he did in Indianola have 3.8 million views. So he did that for businesses and then also just attractions, parks and different things like that. So it's just crazy how quickly that can expand. And then Philanthropic Partnership. This is something that's new, or well, back under the umbrella of Warren County Economic Development. This entity, I guess, takes revenue from state gambling, and then it funnels through this organization, and we have $101,000 this year to distribute to local nonprofits who are doing different community betterment. And then I just wanted to mention, we have a portfolio of funds in this Philanthropic Partnership. One of them is called the Warren County Philanthropic Partnership Endowment Fund, and that one has $684,000 in it. So it's growing, and we're excited about it. All right, now I think, so I just wanted to highlight a few things on how we stack up as a county and a community. And this is really small, but We are maintaining fourth fastest growing county in Iowa, which I think is awesome. And then another thing I wanted to highlight here, as a county, if you see under median household income, we're sitting at 79,557. That puts us number 2 in the state, which is pretty impressive. So I think we're on track for great things, a lot of good stats. I think we have a lot of really great momentum going. And with that, I'm going to invite my muscle up to the stage.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. She mentioned that we've been in existence for 30 years. I've been the president for 15 of those 30 years. So the chamber was into tourism. I'm into economic development. I really enjoyed that. And one of the things that I think is important about economic development is I think we've had a really great attitude about economic development in our county and in the city of Indianola. And one of the projects that I had a small part of is the city of West Des Moines brought Microsoft in, and they're on the northwest part of our county. I hope I'm facing or pointing to the northwest part. But anyway, we had about $200 million of commercial property in Warren County. And with this Microsoft project, they added $308 million. So you can see what an impact that thing has. The other thing is on the Justice Center, almost all their property taxes for 20 years are going to be used for infrastructure and all that. But you can't avoid the debt. So we had debt on the Warren County Justice Center of $35 million. They will pay off 12% of that. So it's really a huge thing to have Microsoft over in the northwest part of the county. Another project that I worked on, and this had to do directly with the city, and I think probably Councilman Parker was on at the time, but the motel, they're a motel or hotel, wherever that thing is out there, right next door to the Y. I helped and got lots of help. We raised $150,000 to help bring that project in. And that's really important. And Rachel was talking a lot about grants and gifts and things that we do. And we've given to various projects, we being Warren County Economic Development. It's very, very important. And the only other thing is, I will say that our ask this year is $50,000. And we think that your return will be many, many times the $50,000. So with that, I would open it up to questions, and Rachel can probably answer most of them, but I do have this 15 years hanging around.
Any questions for Doug or Rachel? Gwen, do you have any questions?
I'm sorry.
No, I'm good. I just appreciate all the information. That really nice presentation. Thanks.
What all is that $50,000 going to be used for?
Pardon?
How's it? How are you going to break up that $50,000? Or what's that $50,000 going to be used for?
You know, probably really difficult to designate, because we give, as you heard her presentation, we give to so many things. Some of our grants are really help, as she mentioned, small businesses, and we are kind of planning to add a third person to, we've got 2 on the staff right now, and we're thinking about adding a third person, so that would help with that. And again, I think that any dollars that you spend in economic development, you'll get back many times if you do it, you know, the right way. And I think the city of Indianola has benefited an awful lot from the things that we've done over the last 30 years. But it'd be hard for me just to say, we use it for this or that, because we use it for so many different things.
Rachel, what was that number on here house again? Was that 219,000?
$161.
Was that?
$219,161. Yeah, really important.
So with the new staff, is that directed towards economic development or is that towards, because of philanthropic coming back in or how?
It would be a collection of things, but I would say that their largest focus would be on economic development, but they would be helping with that programming. Different things.
You guys write your own grants?
Yes.
You do?
And that's something that we have been able to help business projects with and just. For example, the Tom Smith's building where Roots Reclaimed is, that was something that we had to partner with the city and the business owner to apply for funding. They got a low interest loan in order to make renovations to that building. Actually, in that same package was People's Company. They had a wall that was bowing out on that Salem Pocket Park. So those were, I think it was dangerous and dilapidated or nuisance and abandoned property remediation fund. But that's just an example of, when we find these grant programs and we can match them up with the need in the community, we'll go through the steps and get the right people involved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. To Andy, presentation by Assistant City Manager, Finance Director Andy Lent regarding the fiscal year 23 budget.
Got a minute and a half.
Now the fun stuff.
Right?
Minute and a half, Andy. For the whole budget.
At 8 pieces.
And I'm sorry, I thought I was gonna go,
No, that's
but I feel like maybe I was here for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It appears to be frozen up for some reason. I don't think so. Oh, there we go. There we go. I feel like I have to maybe bang on it. Oh, great.
I think you better put a new laptop in it.
Yeah. See how that shows up. Well, it'd be great if it just worked. So,
This is technology.
that's awesome.
Doug, is it possible we could do next two improvements and then for the approvals and then come back?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, you can skip
Okay.
that.
Go ahead.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
E, consideration of approval of Lynn Stecker to Planning and Zoning Commission for a term beginning immediately and ending July 1st, 2026.
Move to approve?
Second.
Thank you. Jackie.
Councilmember Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Resolution appointing Bob Kling to the Bravo Commission.
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. Jackie.
Councilmember Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach. Aye. Richardson,
Aye.
Hewlin.
Aye.
Can we, Doug, can we move on when he continues
Yes.
to do this?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can look at that.
All right, perfect. Because poor Olivia back there, she's been here. She's from there. She cancel out. Let me pull me up real quick that I have. Sorry about that. So tonight we have Olivia Fuller from the Mayor's Youth Council here. She's a senior at Indianola. Olivia, I'm gonna make you stand. Sorry to embarrass you. And I told her it was a pretty long meeting tonight, so after we did some introductions of her, she was free to go. I want to thank Olivia for being on the Mayor's Youth Council, and they have actively been working for planning Bike Fest, and so that will be happening this June at the Irving School parking lot. Give a shout out to Becky Lane for all that she does in helping to coordinate that. They met last week and they had an opportunity to tour the National Blue Museum with Stacy Schoenbrand, and it sounds like quite a few of you hadn't been there before, so it's always exciting. This is a pretty talented group. I may be a little biased. I have a senior, so I really like this class, but they've got some big ideas and hopefully we can make some of them happen before they graduate. Thanks, Olivia, for attending.
Thank you.
Thanks. Moving on, we had a retreat on Monday, January 31st. We identified some priorities we're going to work on for this year. Anybody who has any information on that, you can call me or shoot me an email. I can get that information to you. Last Friday, I had an opportunity to do a police ride along with Sergeant Largess, and that was interesting and fun. Definitely a different dynamic from a Wednesday morning to a Friday night. But I'll tell you, the two overnight guys that were working that night, I was super impressed with, and they've got a pretty strong bond. They're a good group. Last week, I put a proclamation out for Chris Street Day. It was his 50th birthday. It would have been his 50th birthday on February 2nd, 2022. We'll have a formal proclamation reading at one of the next meetings. Mike and Patty Street will be here to receive that proclamation, and I'll just keep you updated on when that will be. Tomorrow, I will be touring the Harvest Academy. If you're not familiar with what the Harvest Academy is, strongly encourage you. They are a pretty good organization. It's a 24-month minimum life skills academy for those with criminal background, substance abuse challenges, or experience homelessness. They offer a comprehensive program with vocational training, education, peer mentorship, and transitional services back into our community. Salem Connection is having lunch and learn on Thursday the 10th. That begins at 11:30. With the changes in the workforce, they are looking at how they can grow their remote workspace and opportunities for who live here in our community. As well, on Thursday is the Chamber of Commerce annual meeting, so I'll be in attendance for that as well too. And that's all I have for community update. All right, Andy, are you ready?
You're ready for me.
Yep, we'll come back to 7B.
Mayor and members of council, sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with my computer, was working fine earlier, but we'll get going on the FY 2023 budget update. A lot of this information I'll be bringing before the council later on. Same time, we're not adopting the budget right now. I just want to give you an update where we're at. What we're asking the council to do today is just to set the public hearing for the property tax dollars hearing and resolution. So, and I'll go through that so you know you're familiar again with what that is. So budget update. So we're going to go through some assumptions that we're using to put the budget together. Talk about what the maximum property tax dollars mechanism is, the current fund expenditures and balances, what we're projecting the property tax levy to be, and then once again go over the civic requests. So our assumptions, we were working on 3% COLA increase across the board, 10% health insurance increase. We're currently in our health insurance renewal discussions with Holmes Murphy, and we'll be working on that through March and April, along with IMU, because they're part of that group. We're anticipating that the IMU pilot payments, the payments in lieu of taxes that they pay because they don't pay property taxes, they contribute to the general fund. 5% on electric and 3% on water. So we're anticipating that they're going to stay mainly flat. And then we anticipate that there will be some utility fee increase. What they are, we're not sure, but we've always built those into our budgets. So the maximum property tax dollars hearing notice that is going to be published in the paper after the council sets the hearing date is what you're seeing on the screen right now. And what it does, it shows what the current year is compared to the increase in valuation that we're expecting for FY23, and then the property tax that the city is requesting. And what this comes down to is on the last column, the 3.45% increase in property tax dollars that is being requested, increase from the current fiscal year. We have some reasons there for those increases, salary increases, health insurance increase 10%, and then decrease shared revenue from the utility. We also have to, by state law, we have to post this on the city website and on social media. And so we have a number of those locations also on this notice where they can find either the notice posted or link to the notice. Comparison to other metro communities, Indianola is one of the lowest as far as maximum property tax dollars comparison and being requested for the next fiscal year. Actually, we're lowering it slightly from last year and also lowering the levy by 8 cents. And I also need to remind the council that the maximum property tax dollars does not include debt service levy. So if we go back up here to what we have for the levy, the 1215 there, that does not include debt service levy. It only includes the general fund levy and the employment taxes and employee benefits levies that the city currently uses. So if we look at our general fund expenses and also include the public works special revenue, which is the road use tax fund, this is a bar graph that shows the comparison between FY21 actuals and then FY22, our current fiscal year, both budgeted and re-estimated, and then FY23 expenditures. And then some of the major increases that we're expecting, we do have some personnel changes. We're moving the part-time police clerk to full-time, doing a couple of studies in anticipation of some road changes. We do have a couple new personnel in road use and public works to help with those street repairs. And then some of the economic development increases. WCBC, as you learned, they're requesting a $25,000 increase in dues. We also would like to look at a facade program, working with downtown businesses. And then one of the things that you're going to be considering later is the contribution to Des Moines Airport. We'll discuss that later. Right now in the budget, $50,000 for the first year. And then we're looking at one of the priorities that the council discussed at your retreat. We talked about the compensation staffing study, so we wanted to build that also into the budget as well. And then the council camera system, $105,000 there, because we've had some difficulties with the camera system. both for being able to see well for the public at home, being able to see the slides and also the council and going on. We want to provide that a better viewing for the public at large. So this is a general fund by fund, and we have a policy with the city of 25% of expenditures. You see that we are above that. The funds that are in red, they're budgeted as part of the general fund, but they are designated for certain purposes. So Fund 160, 161 for economic development. And then we have some special revenue funds for library and parks. And then the Mid-America Energy Company, the gas franchise fee is for streets. And then we also have a vehicle and equipment replacement fund. There was a question that 36% revenue reserves with designated funds would be about 4.9 million. With the designated funds, it's the 6.4 ending fund balance there. The 25% is at 3.4 million, and with designated funds is 3.9.
I'm sorry, would you say that first one again? The 36% is what? How much a month? How much the?
Without the designated funds, it's 4.9.
Okay.
And with designated funds is 6.4 as shown on the screen.
That's what we have in reserve. Is that what you're going?
Correct, yeah. So road use, so this is a special revenue by fund. Includes road use. Road use is a special revenue. So it can only be spent on street maintenance and repairs and construction, and employee benefits, which must be received as a special revenue and then transferred into the general fund. Local option sales tax is a special revenue that's collected in the special revenue and then transferred out. The one thing I just wanted to note was that notice that the beginning fund balance for the local option sales tax is quite lower than what we have currently on our treasurer's report, and that's because this current fiscal year we're planning a large transfer of those funds into the water resource recovery facility project. Then the police forfeiture funds that we have set aside for non-budget items for the police, and so our TIF, and then our debt service fund. And our TIF is large because we've been collecting ahead of time to pay off bond notes for the wellness center. The wellness center, there's 2 bonds right now for that. One matures in 2028 and the other one in 2031. And we also, just a note for the debt service, we do have Mike Maloney scheduled to come on the 22nd to give a more in-depth presentation to the council on debt service, to present the different bonds that the city currently has out and what they're designated for and what their maturities are. So we'll have him speak to that more at that time. So our capital projects includes our vehicle equipment replacement fund. We have general fund capital projects, which is mainly the library and parks for trails and library repairs. We have streets for minor repairs, and then we have our streetscape, Hillcrest, K Avenue, and then our real property improvement fund, which used to be the D&D fund. We do a 5-year capital improvement plan that we do budgeting in October. And so we've already done that for FY23. And so I'll be going through some of the projects that we currently have planned for FY23. So for our vehicles and equipment, you can see there, I'm not going to go through every one individually. Mainly, a lot of these are replacement. We do have the tasers in there for the police, taser replacement, and body worn cameras, the BWC there, which council has considered and approved that resolution for the body worn cameras. We do have a engine that's being replaced in FY23, over 20 years old. Those are about $500,000 for those engines. And then we have another one scheduled in 2027. Any question on any of that? And for the general fund CIP, like I said, this is mainly for the library and parks. Library has currently, this current year, they're replacing the boiler, but next year, a lot of repairs to the building. As Michelle has mentioned before, they have done a building assessment and we'll be looking at changing around some of their CIP. So it'll be a little bit different when we get into October than what you have on the screen right now, but this is the current, what we currently have in our CIP. And then with the Parks and Rec, doing different trail segments, I'm sure Doug can go over the trail master plan, which we have to go into more detail as far as what the schedule is for the different trail segments. And then like I said, we go into a 5-year plan. So 23, 27 for streets, finishing up the streetscape, looking at the signals at Buxton and Second Avenue, Hillcrest and K Avenue, and then Boston Avenue is the ARPA funds for the infrastructure. Then we have some major projects there listed, and then some minor one block projects. The Clinton, Howard, or Buxton, we might be able to do under the ARPA funds. It depends on how those bids come in for that project. Then stormwater recycling and water resource recovery department. These are our business type activities to address stormwater and wastewater treatment, but also our recycling, which is mainly a pass through where we collect the fees and then pay waste management to collect recycling. And here you see in FY23 the ending of the water resource recovery construction. And then our health insurance, like I said, we're currently in health insurance renewal. Be working with IMU on that since they are still currently part of our health insurance group. Stormwater utility CIP infrastructure. This is currently what we have planned for our CIP for stormwater. We have a couple major projects there, including Clinton Avenue culvert and improvements on 14th Street and Hillcrest. At the same time, we want to build on the stormwater master plan that we worked with Snyder on developing, and we want to collect a lot of data on GIS so that we can get the locations of the intakes and where specifically our stormwater infrastructure is located. We don't have a lot of that. We don't currently have, so we want to collect that data so that we know where the priorities are that we need to address. And then our water resource recovery department, we're going to be concentrating on getting that facility up and running. Rick's mainly going to be working on that, but we do have a few projects that we need to address, including the demolition of the current facility. Now the property tax levy, we are looking at, as I said, an 8-cent drop in the property tax levy. And you see the breakdown for the levy: $8.10 for the general fund, $4.05 for the employment taxes and benefits, and then $1.40 for the debt service. So currently we're looking at for FY23 levy of $13.55. And so you'll see how it affects different properties at different values, both for residential and commercial. The residential rollback did go down slightly. We were anticipating that the multifamily was going to also go down. That's going to happen next year, and that's going to be quite a hit to our city. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. But we were given 1 year's reprieve on that. So went down, not quite as bad, down to 54%.
You want to wait until you're done and talk about property tax rollback assessments, or do you want to do it now?
You can do it. I guess it'd be fine.
Well, so last time we talked, when we were meeting, you didn't have the information on assessments from the county, so you know what did we finally get some final numbers on those?
Yes, we did. They had made some adjustments and it wasn't very large. It was about 700,000 of additional valuation and mainly affected our TIF districts.
Okay, so that went up, a rollback went down, and we're dropping the property tax levy, so that three-leg stool, is it the assessments then that's getting us up to a 3.45
Correct, yep.
increase? Okay,
The economic development that we have anticipated within the city has
Right.
really helped us.
So just to be clear that those three things, you still can have two go down and one still goes up. Is that, and that's going to raise your
Correct.
taxes? Right. Okay. So we are dropping the levy to, what'd you say,
1355.
13.55.
This is a graph showing our property tax dollars for every dollar that you spend, how many cents go toward the different general fund departments. And you see that, again, the majority goes towards public safety, both police and fire. Now the civic organization requests, again, these are civic organization requests. I know we'll have further discussion on this. Currently, the hotel motel tax that we're in, tax revenue that we're anticipating is 200,000. We have a transfer of the park and rec of 25,000, and we have 28 E agreements, both Bravo and CVB, which leaves a little over 60,000 for those nonprofit requests, and those requests came in at about 59,000. I know we'll have further discussion on this later. And then the reasons for the requests, again. And then some of the current concerns on future decisions that we have. Currently, as we've mentioned before, there is currently a bill at the state legislature to change the way the local option sales tax operates, to make it more spread out through the state, and how that will affect the cities. We're going to have to work with the league to see how far that bill goes and what impact it might have for the city. Been hearing a lot of discussion between city managers on how they have bonds, just like city of Indianola, and how it might affect them as far as paying back some of those bonds. We currently are going to be having a debt service for the water resource recovery facility of $1 million each year annually. That is backed by local option sales tax. So we want to make sure that if we can't do that with local option sales tax, that would have to go on debt service. So we want to really monitor where this bill goes at the State House. We still need to have direction from council on the HERDA contribution, if any, that the city would like to do in the budget. You'll be talking about the airport funding, and then we'll also have to keep an eye out for any utility fee increases that might be coming up.
I would like to say that I would like us to try to work in somewhere a meeting with our state legislators here in the chamber to talk about that lost fund and what's going on, because that will be a significant hit. I don't know. I'm not a bonding attorney, but I don't know how, if we bond that out for 20 years or something like that, how the state, of course, the state can pass anything, I know that, but if you take that away,
yeah, Mike,
get to local government.
Yeah, and Mike Maloney can explain this better than I can. I'm not sure how other cities have their bond notes set up. The bond note that I'm referring to is a general obligation bond note. So it's backed by property tax, but it's offset by local option sales tax. So if you cannot pay it with local option sales tax, it has to be paid back through property tax. So it's either one or the other, but because we have the local option sales tax right now, it's not being paid through property tax.
You need to get online and find out what that bill says, because it's obviously a big hit to cities if they do that. So, and counties as well have local option sales tax.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll work on setting up a meeting with
Okay. So our next steps, February 22nd, we'll be doing the maximum property tax dollars hearing. We'll also have the presentation by Mike Maloney from DA Davidson. And then we'll ask the council to set the hearing date for the FY 23 budget adoption. I've got March 15th on here. I forgot to change that. It's actually a week from March 15th. That's actually the second Monday. So it'll be March 21st.
Yes.
So,
The 15th is a good day.
yeah, it's not, it's not the 15th. Sorry about that. Sorry. I'll make the change on that before I send this out.
Andy, a couple of questions for you. Is it this fiscal year that it's been talked about to move to split the rec and park department and put some of the park staff under streets? Is that my understanding?
We were working on that. We were going to be moving the park maintenance underneath Public Works.
Is that?
I'm not exactly sure where that was. We haven't really budgeted. That's what's more of a personnel item. And we'll probably be addressing that with the new city manager as he comes in.
Or it's not part of this budget, right? This
Okay.
budget, yeah.
Okay. I have a real concern, so I just get quiet. Stop me if anybody else has any questions, but I did ask Andy to provide us the dollar amount and reserves that we have, which he did very, very well tonight, and I appreciate that. If I look at your numbers right, and I've got the old one here, did much change off of this one, what you had up there?
It did change a little bit because he had 38% in reserves and it went down to 36%.
Okay.
We're refining as we go through the year as far as our re-estimation before we go to final adoption of the budget.
Okay. So essentially, if I'm looking at this correctly, we got about 7.8 or $8 million of work that's on a yearly basis. We've got about 4 million in reserve. You take away the designated funds, you're $3.4 million. Those are monies that we've collected from taxpayers in the past year. And I do have a little bit of an issue with that. I would like to see us somewhere along the line really seriously talk about as a council whether we need to have a 36 or 39 or some percent increase, some percent reserve. 25% is our council policy. We talked about being a floor, and I respect that greatly. I would like us to see a ceiling somewhere down the road. You know, we have a ceiling on the actual amount that we have
One of the
reserves.
And I respect that. And one of the things that, couple of things, I know Mike will talk about this as far as the dollars and how it affects our rating with Moody and how it affects our debt issuance, costs and things like that as far as interest rates. One of the things that we do as we're doing the CIP planning for the next 5 years, because we've been able to do some of the prior planning for that, it has helped us with some of that cash flow for future projects. We haven't needed to borrow for the 3 police cars that we replace every year, every year. And then the ambulance that comes up every 3 years. And then also our fire engine that's coming up this year. And then the one coming up in 2027. Now, 2027 is a far away ways out. So we'll have to watch how things go, in case we're unfortunately hit with a natural disaster or something else comes up. But we've been able to finance those projects without doing additional borrowing because we've been able to look ahead and do some of that planning ahead of time.
And so the question becomes then, would we not still be able to do that if we had a ceiling of 25% floor and whatever percent ceiling we end up with?
We could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of comes down to, again, in my opinion, and I'm not, all the things we've talked about in CIP and everything else, I agree with you. A lot of those things need to be done. But the issue that I seem to have is that according to last, when we did we had the audit that they were saying we had 350 plus days of reserves. The typical is about 180 days for most of the counties or cities around. I know Mary have contacted some folks and talked about that as well. But we had 350 plus days. And so I think it's a little excessive. That's my opinion and that's my position. But, I think if we could come up with, if you've got a floor of 25% as our council policy, I just think we need a maximum. I don't think we need to be taking a lot of taxpayer dollars that we sit on for year after year after year. So,
It'll be
That's my
helpful to hear from Mike.
those are my questions. Got a lost funds. Yep, I'm done.
I had a question, Andy. So, in talking with Chief Chia, do it through a walkthrough, he was wanting that additional staff. Have we budgeted for any additional fire and EMT staff?
We have not. I know they're working on a safer grant to add additional personnel, but we have not worked on any budgeting for that because we're not sure if we're going to be getting that or not. But that might be part of the looking at, how we're going to be financing that. We don't currently have that in the budget.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any more questions for Amy? When do you have anything?
I'm good, thanks.
Sandy?
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll skip back down to under the mayor's report, B, a proclamation declaring February 6th through 12th, 2022 as National Burn Awareness Week in the city of Indianola. So Bob Sukup from the fire department brought this to my attention, and I want to give him a shout out for that. So I'll go ahead and read it here. Whereas burn injuries continue to be one of the leading causes of accidental death and injury in our nation, where tragically children, the elderly, and the disabled are especially vulnerable to burn injuries. Compared to the overall population, children under 5 were 2 times as likely to be seen for burn injuries at a hospital emergency department. Almost 1/3 of all burn injuries occur in children under the age of 15, whereas most fire-related injuries are burns. In fact, approximately every 60 seconds, someone in the United States sustains a burn injury serious enough to require treatment annually. In the United States, approximately 400,000 people receive medical care for treatment of burn injuries, and in 2018 alone, there were 3,655 deaths from fire and smoke inhalation. The primary cause of injuries include fire, flames, scalds, and contact with hot objects, electricity, or chemicals, with most of the injuries occurring in the home. And whereas National Burn Awareness Week, an initiative of the American Burn Association, is supported by burn, fire, and life safety educators to make the public aware of the frequency, devastation, and causes of burn injuries and measures that can be taken to prevent these injuries. The theme for 2022 National Burn Awareness Week is burning issues in the kitchen. And whereas many people devote their lives and careers to treating, caring for, and supporting and rehabilitating burn injury survivors, there are dedicated firefighters who risk their lives every day to protect others, as well as burn foundations and the other life safety professionals to promote burn injury awareness and prevention. Now, therefore, I, Stephanie Erickson, Mayor of the City of Indianola, do hereby proclaim the week of February 6th through February 12th, 2022 as Burn Awareness Week. I urge the people of Indianola to observe this week by learning about actions they can take year-round to prevent burn and scald injuries. Dated this 7th date of February 2022. The police department, Bob said they'll be putting information out on social media regarding this as well, and some safety tips they can give. Moving on to item C, consideration of approval of Elizabeth Miller to serve on the Civil Service Commission for a term beginning immediately and ending April 1st, 2023. Our civil service, I guess I'll do a motion first and then I'll talk. Sorry, I'm starting to get it. Thanks, John.
Second.
Thank you. Civil Service Commission is a 3-person board, and we had a vacancy due to a relocation out of state. Both of our chiefs met with Elizabeth and agreed that she is a perfect candidate to fill this. She works for the DCI, and we are fortunate to have her application come through. Jackie, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach. Aye. Richardson.
Aye.
Hewland.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Okay, welcome aboard, Elizabeth. I will let her know, and I think they'll probably be planning a meeting later this week or next week. Moving on into public consideration and old business, the Second Amendment to this fiscal year 22 Indianola City Budget. Andy.
Motion.
Motion,
So moved.
Second.
thank you.
Mayor, members of council, this second amendment for the current FY 22 budget. Reasons for the amendment are listed there.
Andy, I have to call roll to open the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You even got it, you got us on one
Jeez.
end. I'm so excited.
Will you throw something at me?
Here we go.
Thanks, Jackie. Roll,
Councilmember
Jackie.
Hewland,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Richardson. Sorry, Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye. We'll get this down one.
Can I go down?
Oh, at least we're-
We're all out.
Mayor, members of council, so main reasons for the amendment are listed there on the screen. One of the main reasons for doing this amendment is the development agreement that was made with TS Investments, which is Phillips Flooring for their new building. The agreement was a $45,000 economic development grant when they build their building, and we're anticipating that to be happening in the spring. The economic development function of the budget is rather limited and small, so this is quite an impact to that area. We will be certifying this to the county as TIF, so we'll be receiving this TIF revenue at a later year, but currently this will be happening, this expenditure will be happening in the current year, and then we'll be receiving it as revenue in the future fiscal year after we certify it to the county. The amendment does say that the ending fund balance would decrease by 76,000, but we're anticipating that most or all of this will be recovered through savings such as the savings on the city manager's salary. But that depends on when we have a new city manager. Any questions?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you. Jackie, call the roll.
Councilmember Hewland,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Okay, so, make a motion, well, I need someone to make a motion, for resolution approving the fiscal year 22, budget amendment.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Jackie.
Councilmember Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewland.
Aye.
Moving on, to 1201 North Jefferson Way sign, with a public hearing regarding the application for exemption of the sign code at 1201 North Jefferson Way, Indianola. So can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewland.
Aye.
Charlie,
Yeah, and
looks
I,
like you're gonna speak on this
I will.
topic.
I do believe this is the first sign exemption request of the new council here. So just really quick, so you are all aware, section 167.22 of the code does state whenever, because of unusual circumstances, there are practical difficulties involving the carrying out of the provisions of the chapter. The council may grant specific exemptions for individual situations regarding sign code. So in this particular request, you've got a property owner where there is a current sign that is in place on the property, considered a non-conforming sign, but is legal as long as it is not altered in any way. And then altering the sign would require an exemption from its location, size, and setback requirements. I'll show you here the mock-up of here in a second, but essentially what they're doing, you can go back to that, that's fine. So obviously the one on the left is the current sign, and then the one on the right would be a mock-up of the new sign. So they're going to add two fuel pricing display billboard or display boards on this sign. And then what's called the electronic messaging center there at the bottom, I'm going to slightly increase the size of that. So the exemption that is being requested here is just to allow for the larger electronic messaging sign, and then also an exemption from the front setback requirements of that sign, which is 20 feet. And this sign's actually pretty close to the right of way. I think it's about 5 feet off the right of way. So any questions on that, would be happy to answer them.
how feasible is it to even have a 20-foot setback on the highway corridor like that? I mean, it's almost
We've
impossible.
done quite a few of these from that front setback requirement on signs before, just because with that small frontage, especially as you get closer to City Hall down here on Jefferson, it does become a little bit more difficult to do it. New build on a new site, you obviously have flexibility with your site to put that in there, but on some of these existing sites, it is pretty difficult. I will also add, we are looking at updating our sign code right now, so hopefully some of these situations do get resolved.
Okay. Anyone here who wants to speak on that? Okay. Motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Jackie?
Councilmember Dolly,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewland,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Moving on to a resolution approving the application for exemption of the Iowa or the sign code at 1201 North Jefferson Way, Indianola, Iowa. Motion to approve. Thanks, Ron.
Second.
Thanks, Christine. Jackie?
Councilmember Schroeder,
Aye.
Peach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewland,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dolby.
Aye.
To number 3, right-of-way vacation and covenants of the portion of the north-south alley that lies west of lot 14 of the plat of Jones and Wendell's addition to Indianola. I get a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Jackie?
Councilmember Hewland,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dolby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Peach,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Charlie, sounds like this is you again.
Just give me 1 second. I'm trying to pull one thing up here, but again, I believe this is the first time this council's dealt with a vacation request. If you look on some of the attachments we had within there, there's a staff report that goes over chapter 137 of our code. Really what the council needs to look at right here is there is findings that are required. What the section says is no street, alley, portion thereof, or public ground shall be vacated unless the council finds that one, the street, alley, or portion thereof of any public ground proposed to be vacated is not needed for the use of the public, and therefore its maintenance at the public's expense is no longer justified. And 2, that the proposed vacation will deny owners of property abutting on the street or alley reasonable access to their property. So knowing that you're looking at those 2 things, this particular request was brought forward by a landowner. So this is East First Avenue out here. It is just to the would be the west of D Street, but you can kind of see the alley on the screen here and the red hash marks, and the property owners asking for that to be vacated. Both property owners have agreed to it, so that makes these situations pretty easy. The Planning and Zoning Commission did review this and did recommend approval with the condition that a public utility easement be granted on this alley. Now, there are no public utilities within this alley, but IMU did ask for the utility easement to be put in place in case in the future they have any need to extend any utilities through this area. In working through this a little bit and over the last couple of weeks too, the property owner who would be on the east has also asked for a shared access easement to be placed on this as well too. So we are currently working with legal counsel to get that drafted up, and what that would essentially do is just allow access to both adjoining property owners to be able to use that portion of the alley that's being vacated. So with that, if there's any questions, we have to answer them.
You want to hear them speak? Take a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second.
Moving on to the first consideration of an ordinance vacating the portion.
Sorry.
Sorry, Jackie, I just
All
got
right.
so excited. Thanks.
Councilmember Dolby,
We're getting to
Aye.
the last page.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Peach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewland,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Okay, now, first consideration of an ordinance vacating the portion of the north-south alley that lies west of lot 14 of the plat of Jones and Wendell's addition to Indianola, Warren County. Can I get a motion to approve?
Move to approve as read.
In second,
Second.
Jackie?
Councilmember Dolby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Right, we're moving on to a next public hearing regarding an application for the right-of-way vacation and covenants of a portion of the north-south alley that lies between lots 5 and 6 in block 8 of the original town plan of Indianola. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
Move to open the public hearing.
Second,
Second.
Jackie?
Councilmember Dolby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Charlie?
Yeah, this one, similar to the last request, except for a different purpose. On this one here in particular, what we're doing, you can see that small red square on that alley. So this is on the north side of the square between Buxton and Howard. And then it would be between Ashland and Boston. IMU, as part of the downtown reconstruction project, is looking at undergrounding all of their electrical fiber lines through the downtown area. As part of this, they do need to place some pedestals and equipment on ground, above ground, for that those services to be in there. So with this, we had, IMU had attempted to work with some of the surrounding property owners to get easements on private property. We're unsuccessful on getting those. So we've looked at a few locations within these alleys, as those are the next logical places. The alley that travels east to west there between Buxton and Howard really is not a viable option, because there is a lot of traffic within that alley, trash services, delivery services, and stuff like that. Then we looked at this north-south alley. And if you go south, kind of on that, what would be the Ashland Court there area, where, I know one break where I came through, all the handprints were put into it. We looked at possibly placing it in that, but from a aesthetical standpoint to the square, we felt with the equipment being that close to the square, it actually would it wouldn't be nearly as aesthetically pleasing as the location that was chosen here. So in working with IMU, we're proposing to place that equipment in this location. Going back to kind of what I've explained in the last case, the way the city sees it is we will not be cutting off any access from the property owners on this. Really, the only people who will be affected by this are members of the public who try to get to that alley from Boston Avenue. They no longer have access from that standpoint, but still would have access from both Buxton and Howard. So I think that sums it up pretty good. So if there's any questions, be happy to answer them.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Thank you, Jackie.
Councilmember Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dolby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve the first consideration of an ordinance vacating of a portion of the north-south alley that lies between lots 5 and 6 and block 8 of the original town plan of Indianola?
Move to approve as read.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you.
Quick question. Charlie, on their drawings, is IMU, are those just bollards they're putting in, or are they actually putting fencing around that? Do you know?
I do not know I would imagine there wouldn't be fencing around it. I think it would just be bollards. I'm trying to think. They've got the east side of the square over here is all underground, and I know there's no fencing around that equipment, but I can double check that. I don't believe.
Yeah, I saw the
Yeah.
circles there. I just couldn't tell.
I would imagine bollards, but I'll double check that and have that ready for you.
Is that something that if it was fencing, if it would be more aesthetically pleasing, or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I said, fencing with the metal slats in it or whatever to kind of hide that, but anyway, just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will double check that. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, not to put you on the spot here, but I do see Deb White. She's an IMU board trustee. Do you know? I mean, she just came on, so we'll give her a break. She's only been in that capacity about 2 weeks. So Charlie, yeah, we'll check on
Yep, I will double check and have that for you at
That's
your
fine.
next meeting.
Okay. Roll, Jackie.
Councilmember Dolby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Number 5, 2110 Country Club Road. We'll open the public hearing regarding an application to rezone property located at 2110 Country Club Road from A1 agricultural zoning district to R1 single family residential detached zoning district. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
Move to open the public hearing as read.
Thank you. Second. Thank you, Kristen. Jackie?
Councilmember Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach. Aye. Richardson,
Aye.
Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
All right, Charlie?
Yeah, so this property, we've gone over this, I know, when we set these, or we referred these applications to the Planning and Zoning Commission, but this piece of property is just north of the Indianola Golf and Country Club, along Country Club Road, and also just north of East Trail Ridge. So go to the next slide. Previous use of this property, it was used by AMU for an electrical substation. That substation has been abandoned for several years. The individual who has purchased this property does intend to demolish the existing building and construct a new single-family dwelling. When we look at the comp plan does show this particular property as Parks and Recreation. However, I've always told our commission this, and I'll tell council this as well, the boundary lines on that future land use map are not meant to be fixed. The comprehensive plan is not adopted by ordinance, it is a policy document. So when we look at that, the golf course to the east and south of here is shown as Parks and Recreation. And then the residential uses to both the north and the west are low density residential. The other thing I would add on that is we do not have any future planned on this property. So because of that, considering this as a low density residential property says it is adjacent to that area would be appropriate. Utilities to note, there's a 12-inch gravity sewer main on the west side of Country Club Road, and there's also an 8-inch PVC water main on the east side of Country Club Road. As far as public notification, there was a sign that was placed on the property, and we did send notification letters to property owners within 200 feet of this rezoning on December 30th of 2021. With that, the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend that this application be approved as submitted, and if there's any questions of me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Is there anybody that took any action on this, or did anybody complain?
Yeah, we had one of the property owners just north of here did come to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, seemed to just ask questions, kind of what was going on, and just give some feedback on kind of some of the characteristics of their property and how it related to this property here. So.
Okay, because I didn't see them here earlier, so that's why I just.
Yeah, they were here, and I know they left. And Steve, do you know any more on that?
They just have some concerns about setbacks and things like that. How big is this lot, Charlie?
Give me
I'm sorry, I
one
should ask
second.
that.
Nope, I can pull it up here. As long as you can be patient.
I guess the question is, there going to have to be any variances for side yard setbacks or anything along that line?
Yeah, I don't think so. We've kind of discussed some of this preliminarily with the property owner. I don't intend there to be any at this point, but that'll be something that we'll have to take a look at as we move along.
I think that might be consideration.
Yeah, it's 11,500 square foot parcel. So for a residential parcel or residential piece of property, that's somewhat normal size on that. So
what's the street frontage?
30 feet.
30.
You're talking setback, front setback?
No, I'm talking.
Oh, yep.
Frontage they have like that.
Yeah, front setback's 30 feet. The frontage they have, without pulling the plat, I can just do a rough estimation, but it looks to be about 75 feet.
60. You got 15, 12 on each side or 15?
8 is the side setback. 18, it's 8 feet from one side, but there has to be a combined 18 feet total from the two. So
you got room to do that.
Yeah. And the depth of the lot's about 168 or so.
Okay.
They're that property directly north of this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And they did testify at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else want to speak on that item? If not, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Move to close the public hearing.
Thanks, Sharon. Second. Thanks, Sharon. Jackie.
Councilmember Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Moving on to number 6, can I get a motion to open the public hearing regarding an application to rezone 60?
We don't.
Lord. Sorry about that. We're just getting so excited. These were a lot of public hearings tonight. So, motion to approve the first consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located at 2110 Country Club Road from A1 agricultural zoning district to R1 single family residential detached zoning district.
Moved as read.
Thank you,
Second.
Heather. Thank you. Jackie.
Councilmember Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewlin.
Aye.
Now we can move on to number 6, and maybe we'll get this one all right. So a motion to open a public hearing regarding an application to rezone 60 acres of property generally located southwest of the intersection of East Hillcrest Avenue and 143rd Street from M1 Limited Industrial Zoning District to M2 General Industrial Zoning District. A motion? Second. Motion. Thanks, Christina.
Second.
Thanks, Ron. Okay, so Jackie.
Councilmember Richardson,
Aye.
Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Aye.
Charlie.
Yeah, this one is 60 acres of industrial ground. You'll see on the map here on the screen, Hillcrest Avenue is on the north. This property is just southwest of the intersection of Hillcrest and 143rd and just to the east of the intersection of 14th and Hillcrest. Go to the next slide. Looking at this piece of ground, the comprehensive plan, future land use does show it designated as industrial. The rezoning the property from M1 to M2 would permit all allowed industrial uses within our zoning ordinance. Reason that this is being requested mainly is because the M1 zoning district does not allow for outdoor storage. There are no utilities extended to this property currently. I know Rachel mentioned tonight in her presentation that we're working on a certified site within the city. That's actually this site right here. As part of that, we're also looking through some utility options on ways that we can get utilities out to this property. So I just will note at this point, even though there are not utilities out there, that is something that the city is actively working on with the property owner to get those in place. Similar to the request that you just reviewed, notification sign was placed on this property and letters were sent to surrounding property owners within 200 feet on December 30th. And with that, the Planning and Zoning Commission has recommended that this application be approved as submitted. So any questions? Happy to answer them.
Does the city line to go right through that property?
No, so the city limits right here. If you look to the left, that where that red line is, other side, sorry. Yeah, right. I'm sorry, left and right, sometimes challenging that one. But the city limits follows that red line right there. But the IMU electrical territory, for example, does split this property in half.
Any other questions?
I assume that's served by IMU water, those are correct.
Yes. Let me verify. Pretty sure that it's all in the IMU's water territory, but I'll verify that.
Okay.
Can we get a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Thank you, Jackie.
Councilmember Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
I get a motion to approve as read the first consideration of an ordinance to rezone 60 acres of property generally located southwest of the intersection of East Hillcrest Avenue and 143rd Street from M1 Limited Industrial Zoning District to M2 General Industrial Zoning District.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Jackie.
Councilmember Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Number 7, that's canceled. It was a public hearing in consideration of the proposed plans, specs, forms of contract, and estimate costs for the city of downtown monument project. Charlie, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'll just note the previous council had set up a public hearing for this. We did have a bid opening last week. We did not receive any bids now. That's not necessarily a thing to be too concerned of. I think at this point, we kind of had expected on this particular one that we wouldn't, just based off a few things. Mainly what we were hearing was we have a lot of subcontractor interest in this particular project, but we could not find a contract to be the prime contractor on it. So Bolton and Mink is working through a few scenarios and contacting a few people to kind of work through that. But the good thing with the monument portion of this project, when we did separate it and do it as a separate project, we do have some time on this one. So we'll kind of work through those options and report back to council when we have more information.
This is not an uncommon thing in the industry. I'll just tell you that Pleasant Hill had to do theirs 2, maybe 3 times before they finally got somebody to bid on it. Part of the problem is the way these projects are set up. Most sign companies can't take care of it. It's not, I mean, there's just too many other things, and I'm not a general contractor to go chasing down all those things, and my bond probably wouldn't be big enough to handle it either. So I did get, just because I had pulled plans on it and put some numbers together for the signage part of it, I did get 3 or 4 subs that just sent out of the clear blue thinking I was bidding on it. So there is a lot of people interested in it, but the problem is just having one person take care of pulling it all together. So hopefully they'll be able to put that. Like I said, I know Pleasant Hill had to do that because I did that project a couple of times at least. So it happens. I know Clyde did it a few years ago, same thing. So you just got to find the times right. And everybody, most of your smaller general contractors, which is what this kind of fits into, they're pretty busy right now. So
I did talk to the local general contractor that did he call you on Friday?
I did not know. No.
Okay,
But I
follow up with him this week.
Yep. Nope. I've got the contact and
Okay.
I'll get that done.
So I was interested in doing it.
yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
Can bond for that.
Yeah, there's so much stuff out
Oh,
there
yeah.
too. Sometimes the right person just doesn't see it, and so.
And I think there's other general contractors in the metro area too that would be interested if you just contact them. I don't
Yep.
know what the list was. They contacted. It's not that, that's not the issue. The issue is
Right.
we can find somebody to do it.
Oh, they're out on bid lists. It's just
Yeah.
whether you can,
Sure.
like I said, everybody's, it's crazy.
Moving on, number 8, resolution approving payment application number 6 and change order number 1 for the South Plant Lift Station Improvement Project.
The resolution.
Yes. Go ahead, tell us. We don't have to do a motion on this, do we?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did
Let's
that
do
one.
this one
I would make
too.
a motion to
Thanks,
approve
Steve.
resolution.
How about a second?
Second.
Rick even knew.
Okay, now.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor and
Alright.
Council. Rick Graves, Water Pollution Control Superintendent. The South Plant Lift Station project started back in April. It's increasing size of the lift station in South Town here. We got 3 pumps instead of 2. And during the construction of the lift station, they went to dig up the influent main, and according to the 92 as-built plans, there was all the structure removed at the old, when they upgraded back in 92, but they found the structure still there. So that's part of the change order is remove the old structure and extend the pipe to the north to hook up to the existing influent line. And also we had the chain link fence that was protected, the area was kind of small diameter for a jetter to get through. So we had put a bigger fence in it with the easier access into the lift station, so.
Question I have is, just want to make sure there's, I think 112 lots in the court edition, which was approved in the 90s on 17th Street. What we're doing now, will that accommodate those 100+ lots that would be there if those do get developed?
It should. I can double check with our engineer, but it should.
Yeah, please do that.
Yeah.
Well, I just hate, of course, do that, and somebody decides, hey, we want to start that project on those development, and go from there, so. Thank you. Are you doing the
I was
change
gonna say,
order
you
then
wanna-
for the?
Passing that over.
Okay.
Jim Green of HR. Jim.
Okay.
You're gonna do the change order. Thank you.
I need to do roll
Yeah,
call.
okay,
Roll call.
Yeah, I guess they would.
Councilmember Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Peach,
Aye.
Richardson.
All right,
Um,
I would make a motion for
Second.
approval.
Thank you. We just did it right there. All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I wanted to give just a quick update on change order 5 and kind of the project to date. So again, this is a $45.6 million water resource recovery facility. We're 75% plus through construction. About 90% of the concrete is on the ground, so doing real well that way. We've had 5 change orders to date. Overall, these have been a reduction in cost through the 5 change orders, including, well, there's 4 before this one and then this one. Overall, there's including change order 5, there's a $51,000 savings in cost from the original bid number. Change order 5 is a $21,000 and $21,749 cost. And it also includes some time extension that we've been negotiating and discussing with the contractor of a total of 22 days. The first 15 days were weather-related days based on November of 2020 through February of 21. And the last 7 days were for a 6.3-inch rain event that occurred in this past October. So that's where we're at right now. You know, our normal change order or abnormal change order for a water wastewater type project is normally 4 to 5% of the bid cost. Our goal going into this was to keep it below 2% bid cost, which is about $900-some thousand. Like I said, we're currently at a negative $50,000, so we're maintaining that course. Again, we still have some construction yet to go, and there'll be things that come up. So contractor's a few months behind schedule. Right now, final completion is on their schedule is October 10th. And we, again, with the delays, the original date was July, so they're a couple months behind. There's an ancillary project, the trunk sewer, which basically brings all the flow to the plant. We have a separate contractor doing that work. That work is going to be constructed on schedule, ready for operation April 1st. So we'll have to give him some guidance with regard to holding him back before the plant's ready to receive that flow. I'd be happy to answer your
Change
questions.
orders when it's a deduction, but I hate it when we got an add, so I got a couple questions.
Okay.
Field order 27 added some joints to the paving project as an additional cost. Is that something that we requested as the city of Indianola, or is that something that was missed in the plans and specifications?
Item 4 is what you're talking about?
They added joints instead of paving.
Correct. Yeah. So 2 things that came into play with that one. One is we added some additional paving at the UV facility, and that was a request of Rick and staff to have better access around that area. Secondly, we used a detail that defined the construction joints and the paving. We also supported that with Sudas Construction. We felt it was very clear. Contractor didn't have that included in his bid. We, you know, and again, they're a Illinois contractor. We discussed it at length. They felt it was a cost that was going to go to a claim. So we negotiated that to a middle ground on behalf of the project.
Generally, my position will be, and I won't support this claim then, because even though you've negotiated it, if subcontractor misses that, that's on them. That's my opinion. I was a subcontractor for many, many years. Had a lot of situations where we had heat costs, the things that came up that we missed. I just can't support that. So I would support the other one because Rick asked for it, but you know, I don't support this.
Just kind of some additional information. On the $50,000 credits to date, the original dollar amount that the contractor submitted for those items was $170,000. That we've worked those numbers back and, you know, reminded them of credits they needed to assume and things like that. So we are diligent with regard to negotiating those types of things.
I appreciate that. I'm still looking over.
Yep, understand.
Any questions? Right, Jack, you follow up?
Councilmember Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Nay.
Moving on to new business then, we have the airport terminal project. We need a motion here to open this too. Yeah. Thanks. Can I get a motion to open the discussion on the airport terminal project? Thank you, Christina. Second.
Second.
Thanks. All right, Charlie and Cody.
We got a roll call.
no, this is just the resolution.
Okay,
This is just-
okay, perfect. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Dave's trying to make everybody.
Yeah,
second
I
guess,
know.
Right?
Trying to make it go fast.
Yes, so I believe most of council was at the airport presentation up in the city of Norwalk a couple of weeks ago. Just kind of wanted to circle back to that, provide you with some of the facts that came out of that. So when we look at the airport in Des Moines and as it relates to Indianola, you'll recall there was a stat that the executive director provided that showed that the Indianola zip code, as far as top airport users by zip code, was the 17th highest for the airport. The only zip codes that were ahead of Indianola were West Des Moines, Urbandale, Johnston, Ankeny, Clive, Waukee, Des Moines, Ames, and Altoona. The airport is obviously asking for cities to provide funding as part of a state grant that they're going after. For cities in Polk County, for example, the request is $30 per capita. Now, if we were located in Polk County, Indianola's portion of that request would be about $475,000. However, the request for all of Warren County is $1 million in total. So just to provide some information on that, Warren County's total population is just a little bit over 52,000. Indianola's population is 15,833, which is 30% of Warren County's population. Norwalk's population, just about 12,800, which is about 25% of Warren County's population. We did check in with the cities that were present, Norwalk, Carlisle, and as well as Warren County. To date, Norwalk is the only council who has committed any funding to this so far. They have agreed to $250,000, and that's a 5-year commitment at $50,000 per year. Go to the next slide. Thank you. So if the city council does wish to provide funding for that, staff would propose using the state backfill payments over the next 5 fiscal years. As council is aware, the backfill payments were implemented by the state legislature in 2013 in response to the loss of tax dollars to cities caused by the commercial and industrial rollback. Council may also be aware that those backfill payments are being phased out by the state. Andy, our finance director, does estimate that the following general fund backfill payments for the next 5 fiscal years. This next fiscal year, that would be $90,000, FY24 70, FY25 50,000, FY26 30, and FY27 10,000. That is a total of $250,000. So if council were to commit $250,000 to this project, we do have enough in that backfill payment from the state to cover that. If the council does wish to contribute more, staff would propose that those funds do come from general fund reserves. Look at the next slide. I just wanted to provide some of this to council. I used this in a presentation I gave about a month ago on this first graph here, just to show Indianola's location to downtown Des Moines. I always like to use this one because Indianola is about 17.2 miles away from downtown Des Moines. And it does show that we are actually closer to downtown Des Moines than Waukee is. But what I like is the next slide that shows our location to the airport. Using those same cities that I used on that last slide, you'll actually see that Indianola is closer by mileage to the Des Moines airport than Waukee, Grimes, Ankeny, Bondurant, and Altoona. Actually, we're probably one of the closest cities to the airport other than Des Moines, West Des Moines, and Norwalk. So I think that's an important slide to provide to council. And it does hopefully show you what the actual economic impact of the airport to the city of Indianola is, just based off our distance. And I know we've checked in with a few businesses. I know, Mayor, you talked to Conagurring with Cementech. They obviously use the airport quite a bit. I did talk with Missouri Valley as well, Robbie Foxen. While they don't use the airport, a lot of their stuff is actually people coming in, driving in from the Midwest, but they do have some usage of the airport. And again, there's a lot of other businesses, I think, within Indianola that do benefit from the airport. So I'm going to turn it back to council and just kind of gauge the temperature on what the funding commitment from council would be, if any. And then we can kind of fill in the blanks on the resolution and the letter from there. So
I just want to add to what Charlie was saying was the backfill, everything Charlie said is correct. Backfill is being phased out over the next 5 years for us. And so mentioned Charlie, these estimates that I gave to him for the backfill are somewhat conservative. They are phasing it out after saying that they were going to guarantee that it was gonna go on for forever. They are taking it out, and then they are conservative. Will they take it away later? If, after they're doing their income tax revision and everything, when they get low in funds, are they going to even phase those out even faster? Who knows? But as council is aware, we use the backfill not for operations. We use it for one-time purposes. And that's why we felt this was appropriate for this type of funding if the council wants to do that.
My quick question is the motion that was made, is that for the 250,000?
That was the
Just
resolution.
resolution, you haven't filled it in the amount yet.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. Okay. I guess I think we'd be fools not to get on board with this. I think this is something that's big for the region, and obviously a lot of residents of Indianola fly, and if it makes it easier and cheaper, then I think that's a smart thing for us to be part of.
Well,
Totally agree, John.
Go ahead, Gwen.
I just was going to say, I totally agree. I think I fully support it.
Two things I will add. One of the reasons that a large distribution warehouse is on 9th Street, which is across from the Folks Floors project. That was a Manly Toys project. We did it in the 1990s. That building has been the reason that they came here for two reasons in the 1990s. Number one is proximity to the Des Moines Airport, because they flew all of their people, had to come in, all their head executives would come in on a quarterly basis. Second reason was that obviously our workforce was a little less expensive than some of the other metro areas in the Des Moines market at that time. I don't know if that's true today or not. Having said that, that building's been on the tax rolls now for probably 25 plus years. I think I had Charlie check. If my numbers are correct, I think their property taxes was in the $200,000 range for that building alone. And so it's been that is a direct result of the Des Moines Airport, the project that we had there. My job the last 10 years, just to give you a personal note on that, my job the last 10 years required me to fly every week somewhere out of the Des Moines Airport. And even though I had a home office and was working at home on Fridays, I flew out on Mondays and came back on Thursday nights, hopefully most times. And I wasn't the only one. I would regularly meet Indianola residents on many of those flights. So it is a direct economic development for this community. I want to point that out.
And Carlisle hasn't implied whether they're gonna put in anything.
They're talking about it, but we haven't gotten any final commitment or any numbers from them on what they may do or may not do.
I believe it's on there.
I agree with what everybody's already said, but would like to add that I feel it's our responsibility. It's a really wonderful amenity for us.
Absolutely. And as Kevin fully said during that meeting, these dollars that we're agreeing to, he'll be able to take that to the governor with the meeting next week because the state of Iowa will be matching these dollars. So that's why we felt it was important to get our dollar amount into them. So Jackie, do you want to call the roll? Oh, sorry.
So Charlie, has the county committed to a dollar amount?
Nope. The only one that's committed so far is Norwalk. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the last thing too, is we do have to figure out dollar amount and then number of years as well.
255 sounds great to me. So
250 or
in 5 years. 250 in 5 years is perfect. Yeah. I mean,
I thought you said 255. I'm going, okay, well, that's
Yeah.
we get 250 in 5.
If council's going to agree to that, I'd suggest you amend the motion to include that now. That's
Okay. So can I get a motion to amend?
They just, can you just ask, can she just?
Will you amend your motion?
Yeah, I read it.
Who had the second?
250
For 5 years.
for 5 years.
And who was the second? Who was the second?
Councilmember Hewlett.
Okay, perfect.
Any other discussions on it? Gwen, anything?
No, I'm good. I like that distribution as well.
I just think it's important that the taxpayers know that we're not, raising taxes, not being paid out of property tax, it's being paid out of the backfill.
Absolutely. All right, Jackie.
Councilmember Richardson,
Aye.
Hewlett,
I
Parker.
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Aye.
We'll just comment on that, though, that it only takes one building like Manly Toys, which was there, that's all it takes. Really, and you're looking at a hundred, I don't know what you say, 50 some acres if we're looking at making shovel ready. You never know.
Absolutely. Okay, now that we have a number and a timeline, make a motion of approval of a letter of agreement between the Des Moines Airport Authority and the city of Indianola.
So moved as read.
Thanks, John.
Second.
Thanks, Brian. Jackie?
Councilmember Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion, moving on to number 2, can I get a motion for a resolution naming depositories and setting depository limits?
I would make a motion.
Thanks, Steve.
I'll second.
Thanks, Heather.
This is just a resolution that we do every year on an annual basis under the Code of Iowa. That we need to have the council name the depositories for the city funds and the limits for those funds. Under this mainly under 12B and 12C of the Code of Iowa, the banks are required, True Bank is required to have securities or collateral for these for the funds that they hold for the city, and they assured me that they did, and they are audited. So
That was
Make
exactly
sure
the
that-
question I had. Thank you.
Andy, how often do we put out RFP for these services?
we haven't for a while. It's probably something that we need to look at because we did extend for another year or two for with True Bank, so we'll probably need to. So I don't know that.
Any other questions? Gwen, any questions?
Not right now.
Great. Jackie, you call the roll.
Councilmember Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Dalby,
One of my employer is one of the depositories, so I'm going to abstain my votes.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Can I get we'll move on to number 3. Can I get a motion for a resolution approving an agreement with Central Pump and Motor for McCoy Planning Lift Station and Piping Contract? First and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you.
This project consists of changing and replacing the discharge pipe at the Plainview McCord lift station. Currently, we have issues with the blow by because the discharge elbows aren't facing up against the pump like they should be. I received 3 quotes and I'm recommending Central Pump and Motor to do the work.
Is that in that draw that goes in on Plainview?
Plainview would be,
Yeah, but is it in that
Yep.
little point?
Yep. McCord's on 17th west
Yes,
of there.
great.
Amazed at the difference in
Mhm.
prices. That surprised me.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's a good company. You know,
Yeah.
Usually when you see that big of a difference, and I know I do work for CL Carroll, so that just shocked me a little bit.
Are we with the budget to do both of them?
Yep, we're a little over, on the $8,000 over, but
Okay.
I have money with reserves for that too.
Kind of important. Oh, and I guess I want also to thank you because this is the type of stuff that Rick has taken care of since he's been here, taking care of a lot of these issues, and they all cost us money. I mean, like you said in the notes in here, the electricity, excess electricity, because the pumps are constantly running, and the maintenance and the upkeep on the equipment. It's amazing what we've done over this time period you've been here, and I really appreciate that. So.
And it's not good stuff all the time. It's pretty corrosive stuff too.
Yep.
All right. Rick, if you'll stay there. I think
Yep.
you got the next couple. So Jackie, we call the roll.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Number 4 is approval of an excessive usage claim for 104 West First Avenue.
Move to approve as read.
Thank you, John.
Second.
I received notice from IMU that when they read the water meters, they had excessive usage on this claim. And I had staff go investigate it. We ended up finding that the outside faucet was left on. You can tell where all the snow kind of melted away. So it's kind of a indication that they had, somebody turned the faucet on accidentally. Ended up using that many gallons of water, so. I'm recommending the reimbursement amount for that. See how it did not go down the sewer.
Any other questions? We don't need to roll on that, right?
No.
Okay, perfect. Number 5 is.
We'll do it
Yeah.
again.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so we need to do a voice vote on that. Yeah, all right. So Jackie.
You just say all in favor.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
Opposed, same sign.
Same, thanks.
That's right.
Yep, we got it.
Yep.
Figuring it out. It's been a long
That's
meeting.
right.
Okay, so now we're on to the number 5. We did that, right? So moving on. The approval of
5.
an excess.
Nope.
u-
Yep.
Yep,
number
number 5.
Yeah, number 5, approval of an excess usage claim for 708 West First Avenue.
This,
5. Second.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
this is similar to the same thing as the first one. On this one, particular one, they had they're renovating a garage into apartment building or apartment complex. And the line froze right after the meter and burst. And all the water was kind of maintained in one room and went out the front door. It didn't make it to the sewer system, so that's the same deal. Recommended reimbursement at $1298.23.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we got it. We got that one figured out. Thanks, Rick. Number 6 is a resolution authorizing closing on the 2020 SRF loan amendment for streetscape sponsored project. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve as read.
Motion.
Second.
Thanks for the discussion.
I can speak on this if you have any questions. This is just a amendment of the 2020 SRF loan. The council had sent this and motion, and this is just closing documents. And I don't know if you understand, but it's to lower the interest or more of the principal on this SRF loan can be used for stormwater project. So you're essentially getting 2 projects from the same cost. So the stormwater is going to be the pavers and also the bioretention cells on the streetscape project.
Any questions, Frank?
I got a little, I was trying to follow through there, Andy. So the 1.7, what was the grant, right?
Yes, yeah, so basically you have you have an SRF loan, and so much of it is principal and so much of it is interest. So there, you have that same cost for that loan, but you're making the interest smaller so that there's more principal that's available for that stormwater project. So you have the same amount of debt service costs, it's just that now you have more money available for the stormwater. So you're basically getting 2 projects for the cost of 1 project.
Okay.
But that's because the state helps kick in some of that cost, is that correct?
Right.
Yeah, that's your.
Any other questions for Andy? No? Okay. Jackie, would you call the roll on that?
Councilmember Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Moving on to number 9, Charlie, the interim city manager report.
Yeah, just a few things here really quick. You got to meet Jim Rasmussen tonight, who's our lead engineer on the wastewater treatment plant. So typically with new council, we've always had a meeting regarding this project in Johnston in their office to kind of go over update, just inform the council and everything. So I'm going to work here over probably the next couple of weeks with staff and council to schedule that meeting. We're also looking at doing a tour for new council members and obviously existing council members from previous 2. I've already done the tour, but looking at doing a tour for everybody of the new wastewater treatment plant sometime in May, I believe, once it warms up a little bit so everybody can stand being outside on that. So we'll once we kind of get a better outlook on the weather forecast, we'll schedule that. I do believe I informed council a couple weeks ago that the oral arguments for the Kading properties appeal will take place tomorrow. If anybody wants to tune into that, that's at 11 a.m. There is not a link or anything we can provide. I was just told that if you go to the Iowa Court of Appeals YouTube page, you should be able to watch a live stream of that. So that is at 11 o'clock tomorrow. And then finally, two things, but the big thing is just wanted to update everybody on the city manager recruitment. As council's aware, the application process on that did close last Friday. We did get a total of 37 applicants for the job. So next steps are for the recruiter to take a look at everything, do some screenings, maybe some interviews, and then we'll present a final report to the council. We'll get that to you a few days before your March 2nd meeting. This is a special meeting that we will have with the council to go over that process at 4 p.m. I think everybody did indicate to me that that time did work for them, 4 p.m. on March 2nd. And then right now, I know I've sent a few emails over the last week on just kind of some dates to when we actually do the interview process. But it seems to me that the week of March 21st to 26th is probably going to work best for that. So I just wanted to, or excuse me, not the 21st to 26th. I have the wrong date on that because I know we were looking at, it is the 28th through April 2nd. That seemed to be a week that was going to work best for everybody. So we don't need to go over tonight, but if anybody does note that that week on weekend is not going to work, please let me know ASAP. But we'll really schedule during that March 2nd meeting, I think is kind of when we'll go through the process of what we're going to do to select that person during those interviews. So lastly, I just want to note that I am going to be out Wednesday afternoon through next Monday. So if you need me, I may not respond right away, but feel free to contact me if you do need anything. So, and that is all I have.
Great.
I know our policy requires or asks that the council approve things to be put on the agenda. I don't know how we want to work this, but I really would like the staff to take a look at some of the things that we changed in council policy or we're kind of doing that's outside of council policy. And kind of review that and kind of look at things. And if we have some additional things that we want to talk about during that discussion, that maybe we let Charlie know as well, but I don't know how others feel about that.
Just want to add, review the council policies.
Review the council policies, because there's things that we, like just for instance, the sign-in sheet, a few other things are time frames or other kinds of things that we do. And I understand they're there for some reasons, but I think staff has a pretty good idea of things that we could change and look at changing. And if we want to add some things, we can talk about that. If we don't, that's okay too. But I think let them at least look through some things, kind of list some things that maybe could change and go from there.
So you're requesting changes?
I'm requesting the staff looks at all the staff policies we have and what things that we're currently not kind of following, I guess. So I don't, like for instance, the other night during when I was in charge of running the meeting at the last council meeting, we had a person in the audience that wished to speak, and our council policy is not to recognize that. So I guess I'd like to try to kind of look at those kinds of things and see if those are things we want to change. Just bring some things back that we're doing a little bit differently than we have in the past, and have the staff bring those back, and then we can decide whether or not we want to change it. That's just to review it.
But I mean, what I'm asking is, it's more of a whether we as council want to change it, not staff wants to change it.
That's right.
So you're just asking to put it on the
Yeah,
agenda,
yeah,
discuss
exactly.
a future meeting. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. All right. I just didn't, okay. I thought you were asking staff to look at changes.
No. I'm
Okay.
asking staff to, what I'm saying is though, if they could look at some things that we're currently not following, and when we have that meeting, those things would be available to us, and then we could discuss that.
If
or
they
other
have
things.
recommendations.
They have recommendations.
It's kind of our policy, so we can kind of do it ourselves.
Well, that's true, but
I'm just saying, I mean,
yeah, I
that's,
know,
that,
I know, John. We're agreeing in different ways.
right, yeah, no, I agree. I'm just, I just didn't catch, I thought you were asking them to bring suggested
no,
changes, and I was like, well, that's our document.
Yeah.
We can do whatever we want to with it, so.
So yeah, if that's a study session or a regular council
Whatever
meeting,
you want to do.
we'll find a time to put it on there in the next couple of meetings.
Hopefully not one that's gonna take us till 9 o'clock.
We got one more item to go.
Two. Yeah, or one, yeah, after.
You okay with that, Charlie, then?
Yeah, we'll
Okay,
figure out a time.
perfect.
Put it on.
Charlie's yawning.
No, I'm not.
I thought I just saw you yawn, and I was like, that's how I'm feeling. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I would still move.
Thank you, Steve.
Exactly.
Thank you. Jackie, do we do all of that?
All those in favor?
Thanks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I was gonna oppose this time.